Hi, welcome back to ExamPadi. Our topic today is fascism, and in this lesson, we will explain the term fascism, we will discuss how fascists come to power, and we also identify the features of fascism. It is noteworthy that fascism has played a substantial role in igniting some of the most catastrophic events associated with the deeply divisive and destructive movements that emerged in Europe during the period between World Wars I and II. In today's world, fascism serves as a cautionary tale regarding the perils of authoritarianism and the erosion of democratic values. Now, let us explore the precise meaning of fascism, its origin, and the extent to which contemporary leaders exhibit fascist tendencies. Pay close attention as we delve into this topic comprehensively. Fascism refers to an authoritarian and nationalist political ideology characterized by dictatorial power, strong centralized control, suppression of dissent, and a belief in the superiority of the nation or a particular ethnic group. It often involves the suppression of individual freedoms, strict social and economic control, and the glorification of a strong leader or a state. Fascist regimes typically emphasize militarism, ultranationalism, and the suppression of opposition or minority groups. Fascism emerged in the early 20th century, particularly in Italy during Benito Mussolini and Germany under Adolf Hitler, and has since become associated with some of the most oppressive and destructive regimes in history. The word fascism is derived from the Latin fasces. It is a symbol of the authority of the civic magistrates in Rome. This symbol suggests strength through unity. Thus, fascism aims at strength through unity. In many ways, fascist regimes are revolutionary because they advocate overthrowing existing government systems and persecuting political enemies. However, when it advances their interests, such rules can also be highly conservative in championing traditional values related to the role of women, social hierarchy, and obedience to authority. And although fascist leaders typically claim to support the everyman, in reality, their regimes often align with powerful business interests. Fascism is described as an anti-communist, anti-democratic, anti-parliamentary, anti-liberal, anti-individualist, and anti-conservative. It does not support materialism and hierarchy. It is important to know that fascism opposes liberalism to a great extent. Fascist movements used social grievances and violence to garner public support. From there, entering political power and often seizing control of governments, enacting violent policies of war and persecution. Many experts agree that fascism is a mass political movement that emphasizes extreme nationalism, militarism, and the supremacy of both the nation and the single influential leader over the individual citizen. This model of government stands in contrast to liberal democracies, which supports individual rights, competitive elections, and political dissent. Now, how did fascists come to power? Mussolini and Hitler rose to power swiftly, but their country's transformations from constitutional governments to fascist regimes did not take place overnight. Rather, the two countries experienced a similar pattern of a fascist party gaining a foothold in government through initially democratic methods, consolidating power, and ultimately dismantling democratic institutions and securing a dictatorship for its leader. Now, what are the features of fascism? Let's unpack a few of these hallmark characteristics of fascist leaders and their movements. Fascism is a political ideology characterized by a number of specific features, including 1. Authoritarianism. Fascist governments are characterized by a centralized dictatorial power structure with little or no regard for democratic principles or individual freedoms. 2. Nationalism. Fascism often emphasizes the importance of national identity with a focus on the superiority of one's own nation or race over others. 3. Militarism. Fascist regimes often prioritize the military and aggressive foreign policy, using force to achieve national goals. 4. Totalitarianism. Fascism seeks to control every aspect of society, including politics, the economy, and culture. 5. Propaganda. Fascist regimes often use propaganda and mass media to manipulate public opinion and justify their authoritarian rule. 6. Scapegoating and persecution. Fascist regimes often target specific groups for scapegoating and persecution, including ethnic and religious minorities, political dissidents, and intellectuals. 7. Anti-communism. Fascism often involves a strong opposition to communism and other left-wing ideologies. 8. Corporatism. Fascist regimes may seek to create a corporatist economic system in which the government works closely with business interests to achieve national goals. It is important to note that these features are not always present in every fascist movement or regime. There is often significant variation in how these features are expressed in different contexts. However, they provide a general framework for understanding the key characteristics of fascism as a political ideology. In conclusion, in our study today, we learned that fascism is a political ideology that emphasizes authoritarianism, nationalism, and a centralized government led by a strong leader or dictator. We also mentioned that it originated in Italy in the early 20th century, led by Benito Mussolini and his nationalist fascist party. Fascism is characterized by a belief in the superiority of one's nation or race, a rejection of democratic principles, and the use of violence and propaganda to suppress opposition and maintain control. We mentioned that fascism also often involves the suppression of individual freedoms and the use of militarism and aggression in foreign policy. Finally, we stated the features of fascism, which we said include authoritarianism, nationalism, militarism, totalitarianism, propaganda, scapegoating, anti-communism, and corporatism. These features provide a framework for understanding the key characteristics of fascism as a political ideology. We have come to the end of today's lesson. Attempt the following questions to evaluate yourself. 1. In 2 paragraphs, explain the meaning of fascism. 2. List and discuss some of the features of fascism. Thank you for learning about fascism with me. I'll see you in our next video. Bye for now.